I'm saying is I get it. I too would start a holy war prison day. I told you guys I was gonna say
Nice to see everybody.
Welcome back. We just witnessed the beginning of the end of the known universe in the future. We watched Dune Part 2, starring our favorite guy on the channel, Timothy Chalamet,
Josh Brolin,
Javier Bardem,
Christopher
Walken. Yeah, he's in it. And
Didn't really do a whole lot of walking.
No, he didn't. That's what happens when you're the emperor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just went to go watch it, and we were there. It was a good time. We're had by many, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
The theater seemed to really enjoy it.
Yeah. It was packed.
Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly, not surprisingly.
Nah, it's opening weekend.
But yeah, cinema's not dead. So where do we want to begin, gentlemen?
What's the box office for this movie?
Do you guys want to end at the end? It's Friday or Saturday.
Man, James letting his opinions known fast.
Coming out of part
Connor?
1.
Why is it always me first?
Well, you're the
yeah,
guest.
coming out of part 1.
You're
I'm
the
not a
guest.
guest. I'm a part of this now.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Coming out of part 1. Go on, James.
How did you think that they would adapt the second half of the novel? Even without really remembering the story.
I was hoping for more of the same. I wanted the go watch last week's episode, where I discussed about all the things that I liked about part 1,
yeah.
and I just put that here.
It's too late. It's too late for us.
It's like 10:30 at night,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Like,
It's too late for us to fully form thoughts right now.
but yeah, I was like, I'm looking for more beautiful sound direction, more beautiful shots, more, good presence,
Just a
good
good movie.
unearthliness. Yeah, you know what? Just a damn good movie. That's what I was looking for.
And you think it delivered?
No. What a crocker.
So yeah, it's crazy that Elvis.
You know what? I totally had the joke prepared where I was going to say that he sounded nothing like Elvis, and I was wrong. He sounded exactly like Elvis.
We've been had bamboozled.
You know what they say, man. People. I like just to go off like a little thing. People are always like, why does everybody make like? Why is it always mentioned that he has to hire a dialect coach? I was like, because the man literally cannot stop speaking like Elvis. It is unreal. That movie came out 2 years ago. I don't know. I think it's funny.
He actually shot Dune Part 2 before he did Elvis, too. This was all his training.
Yeah. I think it was. I just think it's funny.
What'd you think of Austin Butler?
Yeah,
though?
but did you
Actually, like the
enjoyed
film?
it?
No, yeah, I enjoyed it.
You had a
yeah.
good time?
Yeah.
All 2 hours and 45 minutes of it?
Was it 45? Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, we got out of the theater at 10. We went in at
that's a good point.
7:30.
Yeah, that's a good point.
15 minutes of previews.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's usually how that works.
Movies
Yeah.
are too
I
damn long
counted
these
18
days.
minutes.
Of previews?
Yeah.
Nice.
Before lights down,
Mhm.
at least.
Do you actually sit there and count it?
I just look at the...
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he definitely he
like,
pulled out
that's-
his phone when the first preview
Yeah.
came on, and he definitely checked it again when it like
Okay.
I compare everything
Well,
to
that's
Regal.
fair though, because sometimes it's like 3 previews,
Yeah.
and then sometimes like for big movies, it feels like they don't ever like it's like
Oh
just-
my God! Yeah.
the showtime is just nothing but
Yeah.
previews.
It's also a good mental trick because then I know the next time I go there how late I can be
Yes. Yeah.
before the movie
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
starts.
That's why I always say like if I'm 5 minutes late, it's not a big deal.
Mhm.
But
Some of us like to watch the.
yeah, as a big fan of
Not
science
me,
fiction,
but no.
was this a good science fiction film for you?
Yeah.
Just away from the Dune aspect of it, which I know is kind of hard.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's the
But-
name of the film, dude. Come on.
They only say it once.
They only say
That's
it
true.
once. Yeah.
So, in my opinion,
Here we go.
away from the Dune aspects, this had a lot of the elements of sci-fi that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Particularly, my favorite part about this entire film, the plot-wise, was the Benny Gesserit stuff.
Yes.
Like, that stuff is right
To
up
me,
my alley.
Yeah.
that is Dune.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
that's the
stuff is
core
so
part. Yeah.
like I think I've mentioned this many times. I don't know if I have, but Lady Jessica is my favorite character throughout like the 3 novels that I've read or
Yeah.
am reading, and because of just the way she's like the master puppeteer.
She
behind
was
the scenes.
definitely my favorite
Yeah.
character in this film.
I love her.
And I think Rebecca Ferguson is probably definitely my
Oh,
favorite
yeah.
actress across these films.
Drop my water there.
Don't drop that.
That would have been
Let's drop the
real
water. Put it over
bad.
here. Let's put it
I mean, it
over
wouldn't have been on anything just except
yeah,
before.
it's just
but
myself.
Nothing important.
But definitely, easily my favorite part of
Yeah.
this entire
Yeah.
film
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
anything that has to do with the Bene Gesserit and the prophecy.
I was gonna ask you guys this. I don't know if I asked this last time because it was very tired last time I asked it. Do you guys think people go into Dune thinking I'm watching the next Star Wars and instead they get Game of Thrones in space?
The problem with answering that is because I know what I get when I go into Dune, which is Game of Thrones in space.
Right,
Yeah.
but you read the book. I'm talking about like people who
Just, like,
didn't read it,
completely
just
blind.
went into it like
They
I'm gonna watch a
might
Zendaya
I
and
can
Timothy
see how they
Chalamet,
can see Star
Timothy
Wars.
Chalamet movie.
Honestly, I would not have been surprised if the general like consensus was just like cool like space movie, like not even like a this is the next Star Wars. It's just like
Yeah.
a I don't know. It's sand, like it's
I
coarse
think-
breath gets everywhere.
God
I
damn
think
it,
the
he said the line.
trailer for part 1 made it seem like it was going to be
Yes.
spaceships shooting each other, but the trailer for part 2 definitely leaned heavier into the conflict between the Harkonnens and the Atreides.
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, that's what they're called.
I know. I'm just
It has the word trader in the name.
listen, man. It's 10:30. I'm jet lagged. Let's just keep going on.
Very big climate swing from Iceland to Arrakis.
I just asked that because these two movies are like total opposite in terms of their structure. Where the first one is purely like dialogue for 2 hours.
Yeah, it's a real talker.
There's really no action until the sand
Yeah.
thing happens, where the worm comes, and then obviously the invasion. But this movie, it's like from the jump, people are shooting at each other, and stabbing each other, and it's like, all right, we're off.
Which I think was the point that we had made when for our Dune Part 1 when we rewatched it. Was Part 1 felt like that one half of Denis Villeneuve that is all just kind of like, ideas. And Part 2, we wanted to just be lean to the action side of things.
Yeah.
Which I think we got.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that was also definitely said last episode.
God, you remember. As
I
well.
remember Isaac saying it almost verbatim. And when the movie opened with an action sequence, I was like, man, Isaac is eating good.
I was excited. Yeah, I like was in the theater like a little kid, like just like hand between my legs, like rocking back and forth because I was like, I know what
Eating
this
your mozzie sticks.
Yeah, I was so excited drinking my Coke Zero. I
Yeah.
was like, this is gonna be art, and it was. To me, it was. I enjoyed this movie a lot. I'm thinking I might go see it again tomorrow in IMAX.
Wow.
Wow.
Rave
soon.
reviews.
I'll pay. Okay, not really tomorrow, but like eventually.
Like, I might got a thing tomorrow. Like,
I believe him. Do you know how many times this guy saw Top Gun Maverick in theaters?
Twice. 3 times. 3 times.
3 times.
3 times.
3 times. The theaters got smaller and smaller the more I saw it. Yeah.
But yeah, you were the only consistent factor.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The last time I went, it was 5 other dudes on a Saturday night. So that just tells you.
Those
Tells
were
you
the
what
army
they were doing.
recruiters.
That just tells you.
They were gonna go try to recruit you, but they'd seen you 3 other times. They're like, we don't need to talk.
They
to this
saw
guy.
my Ace Combat score online. And they were like, we got to get that guy.
You've gone too
Anyways,
far.
moving on.
Boy, do I regret buying this microphone.
What else do we like? James? Is that it for you?
That was it.
That
for
can't
me.
be it for you. There's no way.
Oh no.
All right. Well, for James's part, we'll be back in 8 months when he likes the movie again.
Oh no, we were right, Isaac. We were right.
There is very little in the way of like dip in quality in terms of the soundtrack, the visual
Yeah.
effects, arguably even the acting.
I actually think the acting got better.
I would agree
I was
with
about
that.
to
Yeah,
come
that
give
was gonna be
Kevin-
one of the things that
I was
going
going
to
to give Chalamet his flowers this episode. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like he really did a much better job
Yeah.
at. But I also feel like that's just
Is it because he yells more?
No.
no.
Okay.
I mean,
at least
the,
for me.
the
I speak for me when I say
the altered, Bene Gesserit voice does help, but like it's more of just like, and I think it's also part of the book. Whereas the first half, Paul is becoming, who he's supposed to be, and then the back half, he's kind of
He is. He's him.
He is him, yeah. So I feel like that he kind of stumbled that first half because he's supposed to be stumbling. Like we said last episode, we're like he did his job. It's not an interesting character,
Yeah.
and now he's playing the interesting,
He's an
character,
interesting character.
and he's doing his job, and we're like, okay, yeah, now it's actually like it was good. To
And there's
listen to.
actual conflict within himself this time around, where it's like the last the first part he is discovering who he is, and this one is coming to terms of like
The choices he has to make.
should I become the Messiah, and the decisions that the consequences those decisions have, which is a very like much a present theme throughout his story in both the first book and the second book, and even like in Children of Dune, which I thought was really cool. I don't know, I enjoyed it. I thought Paul Atreides is him now.
I thought he did a really good job.
I think my favorite scene was probably when he's like when they're in the like council, and he basically shows up and is like, "Shut the fuck up, kids! I'm running this now."
That was sick. Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, cool." I was like, "Yeah, I would follow that guy into battle."
Yeah. That was kind of.
Yeah.
I was like, you know
Because
what?
you have to have that.
Yeah,
like
I
you
get
think
it.
of like you think of like all like it's cliche when you have like a commander leading his troops into battle. Like there's many movies that do that, but the two I can think of that like remind me of what Paul or
Lord
what
of the Rings.
Chalamet did is Lord of the Rings, but also Independence Day with the president at the end. You'd laugh, but it's a really good speech.
No.
Yeah, that is a really
It's,
good, and you need that,
yeah.
and he needs to nail that. And I thought it was like perfectly done, where he's yelling, but he's also like the infliction he has in his voice, lowercase voice, not
Yeah.
uppercase.
There was a lot of up and down in that
Yeah,
speech where
yeah.
he was, pacing himself very well.
Yeah.
And you felt like the fervor, the religious fervor that was going on in that room. You just kind of you felt it in a tangible way.
I feel like because I
Really
enjoyed
interesting.
that element of the film so much, the Bene Gesserit stuff and the religious element, that my enjoyment of those same scenes comes from that alone,
Yeah,
as opposed to from like how well I thought he was acting.
yeah.
So
well,
I-
it's all
It's all there.
yeah,
Connected,
yeah.
What do you think of Zendaya this time around? She had more dialogue.
They did like a complete 180 on her character. I don't know if you guys remember much from the books.
No.
but
I felt the same way a little
she
bit too.
is like I hesitate to say the word subservient to him a lot in the book, but she is like a lot more muted in the book than she
Demure.
is in this one.
I feel like there was also like a weird change in her character between part one and this film as well.
Yeah, that was.
What character in part one? She was just a
Yeah.
flash forward.
Well, it's
She
just
said, like,
weird.
one line.
It's just weird. I will agree with you on this. That it does feel. You guys are gonna laugh at me for saying this. It feels like two different movies,
What?
but because of the way the
Ba-dum-bum.
characters acted, like I don't know, Zendaya is like a teenager in this movie almost. Like she feels like too, I don't know, angsty in a way.
Maybe because we saw so little of her in part one, not just we would, our own projections about what her
We thought
character
it
will
was.
be like.
Yeah, what we remembered.
But what actually was there left almost too much to interpretation. So when she actually
Yeah.
gets a character arc, we're like, well, it's too simple. Or it's too immature almost for what
Well, yeah,
she was
because
built
like
up to be.
going purely off of the first movie and how they set her up, it was almost like she was going to be the Messiah. Like there was
Yeah.
like they kept being like, they kept
She'll
telling
lead Paul.
she's going to lead Paul. She's
Yeah.
going to do all these things, et cetera, and then like you get to it and she's like within 20 minutes in bed with him, and you're like, this is something I feel like is missing. There was a step missed here. And then it just keeps going from there where she's just like,
So you wanted more?
Angsty.
You wanted more Paul and Chani romantic scenes? Because
No, but just like-
they could have started
no.
the movie with them in bed, and I would have been
no,
like, "All right,
it
we're
was just
good."
like it was very much like going from straight off of that, like, oh, she's gonna be like this big figure in his life to
Yeah.
like immediately being like, oh my god, you're so cool and stuff. I'm just
I
like,
do wonder
something just seems wrong.
what was lost between the movies, because there's something there that they changed, that they saw something in the first movie, or like there has to be an executive decision on that, because Chani is a very much like guiding figure in the novel, and it's like,
They almost
I mean, the
removed her.
ending is literally Jessica like consoling her. Spoiler alert. I should probably put that. But
For the
the ending
book,
of the
the ending
book,
for the book,
yeah, the
yeah.
ending of the book is literally Jessica consoling her over Paul marrying Irulan, the princess, instead of her, and like, this is your duty. This is what we have to do. Like, I've been in this shoe where I haven't been married to the man I love, but like, you're gonna have your moment, just like I have my moment right now. And like, the movie ends with her just being like, "Fuck you guys, I'm gonna go start my own thing." It's like,
They almost like removed.
Yeah,
her
it's a
from
little
the
weird.
Story.
I don't understand it. Maybe that was like a Zendaya, like I'm not being in a third movie.
Maybe.
She's like, I made my money.
She read ahead. And she was like,
Yeah.
nah, I don't want.
She's
this.
like, wait a minute, I gotta go back to Spider-Man. Poor Tom Holland, man,
Why?
because she's getting. Never mind.
Oh, right, because they're
there's-
actually dating.
there's
Yeah,
another
yeah,
movie
Yeah. No, there was a preview. Yeah,
There's
yeah,
a
yeah,
preview
yeah,
of
yeah.
that movie where
Yeah, where she's
she
getting
dates,
double-teamed. Yeah,
she dates
yeah.
two guys,
I remember when that trailer came out and there was all the memes about that.
Yeah.
That was a good bit.
and then she got to see Timothy Chalamet in bed with her in this movie. Poor guy. I'm just gonna say that poor guy.
I feel like he is doing fine.
Anyways, James, what else did you not like about this movie?
Should we not talk about the things we enjoyed first? Should we not like be positive?
we gotta get. It's negatives out and then it's positives because there might be some negatives that I don't. I mean, I have some negatives about this movie.
Well, then I'll let you go.
The editing style. They just completely changed it on me.
That's
I-
one of those
I
things
did not
that
like
I think
it.
actually, yeah.
Yeah, the like soft spoiler, the soft wipe to show him having his memories. It's like that. What is that? What am I, a fifth grader?
You
Like-
could argue that he's progressed so much that it's just another way of showing, his ability to his relationship to the spice isn't as important in this film. But you could make the argument that that's because he's been living with the Freemans for
Yeah.
so long. He has the blue eyes at this point.
Yeah,
That could be a way of justifying that change in editing.
I hate it.
But there are so many other scenes, and that was one of the reasons why I had issues with the actual comedy in this film, was because I felt like the first Dune is so evenly paced that the fast editing that the comedy and the jokes require, it
couldn't happen.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
you're tonally switching up this film compared to the first, where that was one of the strengths of the first film, was that it was this 2-hour-long film that didn't feel bloated.
Yeah.
Now you have this 2.5-hour-long film that feels like it's weighted towards the back half of it, because the first half is all just a bunch of like Marvel quips.
Yeah, because that was my biggest gripe. Was I like the first half? I was like, dude, stuff's just happening. Like, what is
Yeah.
this editing? Like,
I
there
think
were so many times where stuff you would just cut and then they'd be somewhere else with no explanation.
Yeah.
It's like, I understand because I read the book, but like, some of these people in this theater have got to be confused as to all hell what's supposed to be happening right now.
I think for me, where everything started picking up is when we got to Gady Prime and we met the nephew, the youngest nephew, in the Coliseum, and everything that happens after that. I'm like,
Yeah, that was
this is art. But like everything before that, yeah, I don't know how I feel about it.
I think I'm sure if I rewatched it, I would agree with you. The one scene that sticks out for me that was really a turning point was Paul deciding to go south. He touches the rock and he has that vision, and he's like, "You got to drink the water." I mean, that's just
That's
a
like
natural,
2 hours into the
Yeah, I was saying
movie.
that it's a natural. It's a natural turning point
No,
in
it
the
is.
story,
Yeah,
though,
yeah.
which is why I think it sticks out.
It
to
is.
me,
It is like the
actually.
climactic moment
Yeah.
almost of him being like, "I have to do this regardless of what I want or not." Oh,
So that's just. I'm not saying that that's when the movie got good. Just saying
Yeah.
that was the moment for me that
because it
stuck
didn't
out.
get good.
Because it got worse from there. No.
I do like those moments though, where he those moments where it like touches on that like mythological, legendary status of should I be a god? Should I not be? And like the way he presents it is like, either flashbacks or like the baby in Jessica's stomach, like talking to, or like
The-
seeing the Fremen like kind of like move their eyes of,
Yeah.
of fear out of like Jessica or Paul's way, like stuff like that. I was like, oh, we're cooking here. We're
Yeah,
cooking.
we're
with
getting
something.
For sure. What were your negatives?
So besides just like you guys brought up the editing style, I feel like some of the CGI was really bad.
Yeah.
There were a few moments where I was
Yeah.
like, these look like a PS3 game. Like
Yeah.
The
PS2.
worms were atrociously bad.
There was the
yeah.
The first time when Stilgar is riding
Yeah.
on the worm.
Yeah.
And then there was a scene towards the very, very end when they're at war and one of the ornithopters is flying through the smoke of the city, but the actual cityscape around it at night lit by the fire. I'm like, I don't know if it's just there's something about the shadows that
Yeah,
just feels
it just-
too cell animated.
It it's funny to
Hey
say.
man, what do you
Metal
want
Gear
from him? He
Solid.
spent so much money
I
for
know.
for Florence Pugh to just stand there for 3 hours.
It's one of those things. It's like
No, yeah, I
it's
agree.
funny to say because obviously, but like a lot of the stuff felt fake as hell.
Yeah, which
And
is
you're just like-
weird because like the first one, that was the biggest strength of it.
Yeah.
Was the
Yeah.
production design and the graphics. It was like you felt a weight to objects in the world.
The scenes in the first movie when the Harkonnens invade,
Yes.
and Josh Brolin and all the other soldiers are running out onto the airstrip to fight those guys. I feel like Denis Villeneuve was like, all right, I can only do that again.
Yeah, they definitely did that a couple times.
Because like I have to take that one scene and just use it in every single action scene.
Yeah.
There's always someone running and an explosion in the background.
Yeah.
That's every single action scene in this film.
But yeah, that really, because like to me, a lot of what was Dune was like, you like besides like the core story and stuff, it was the worms. That's like a huge selling point.
Understand? Okay.
Like that's
spice.
AMC would agree with you, by the way.
and I don't mean like obviously like it's about the worms, but just like it's
Yeah, no, I know. What you're
they're
saying.
such a huge part of it,
Yeah.
and like they are a force in the story.
It's a
without
rite of
being
passage.
force. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when like during the final sequence, when we see them like actually breaching out of the ground and stuff, and I'm like, they're not moving. This is a JPEG image that is being slid across the screen right now.
Yeah, I remember last episode where I was like, don't do the thing where Frank Herbert did it in the book where he had like someone in a sniper scope watching the fight.
Yeah.
I think I would have preferred that over what we got.
Yeah. It was just very like, there were just so many shots where I was like, the cool stuff doesn't look cool. And I'm like, how do you screw
Yeah.
that up? Because like explosions are great. I love a good explosion. And when like, when they're attacking like the spice miners and stuff and there's that kind of,
Yeah, that
that's
stuff is
great.
good.
But like the main war sequences felt so
Especially
janky.
because that is the climax of the movie.
Yeah.
Or
It's supposed to be the
one of-
coolest
like,
part.
one of them.
Do you feel like it should have been 3 movies?
No. You run the risk of doing a Hobbit.
Yeah, that's it.
You just start throwing stuff in there for the sake of throwing stuff in there.
Yeah, because then they would have tried to make it 3-hour films, and that would have been bad. That would have been atrociously bad.
I mean, at that point, you might as well just make a miniseries if you're gonna make
Yeah,
three
just
3-hour
just make
movies.
it like a TV show.
1 hour. I mean, don't do that because too many people do that.
Yeah.
But if you are going to do that, no, I think it was fine in 2 movies. I think having number 1 is like the origin / like world building /
Setup.
The concept of how both the movies were supposed to go was great. It's just they fumbled a little bit on the second half.
Yeah.
But I also feel like that's the book too. Like I remember that chapter when the fight's going down, and I'm like, this is supposed to be the
Yeah,
war to
it's the-
decide the empire, and it's
No.
like 2 chapters. Like, what is
Yeah.
going on? Like, this should be a whole like 100
should be
pages.
the book.
Yeah. Just give me a book of that.
Yeah.
They had more important things. than that.
I do appreciate that we are so far advanced in society that blood feuds to decide like who runs the world or the empire, like the galaxy, is still decided by like knife fights.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like that going back to the gripes about the CGI.
I love it.
It really hit me harder too because the fight choreography was really good.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah.
And then stuff in the background just looked bad.
Yeah. Like the scene where Chani's running through with the troops on the
Yeah.
ground and she's like doing all the Power Ranger stuff. I was like, this should be cool, but like the Power Rangers
Yeah.
have done this better.
It's like her motions were great, and then you look past her
Yeah,
into like the
yeah.
middle distance, and you see this like
you see like Sardaukar just like walking like this.
You definitely know there was a moment where like the production designer or some supervisor along the way was like, just throw dust in the background.
Yeah.
They won't look.
I did.
They can't see it.
I did notice that there were a lot of times where they're just you could tell they're like we don't want to animate this, so we're just throwing a dust cloud over it.
We just need him in a soundstage. That's all we need to do. Yeah.
Just
Just put dust.
like the number of times they're like here's the worm, and it's just a cloud, and I was like, I'm on to you. We'd be
Yeah.
able to see it.
It's more menacing if you only see
I do
part of it.
think
Because they couldn't animate it
I do
properly
think-
because of JPEG.
I do think the sand works really, really well when the older Harkonnen nephew, the one played by Batista, he when he goes and he's like, Muad'Dib, where are you? And then Paul comes out of the shadows.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy
That was
shit,
cool, yeah.
that
That was a
is
cool scene.
sick.
I think that kind of takes that's my whole feeling about this film is that there were so many ways that it's really cool stuff and they
Yeah.
tried to do it again and fumbled it. I'm like, you did it right before.
Yeah.
How'd you do it wrong again?
That's
like,
yeah. Just do this, but again.
Yeah,
Like,
just
that's all
keep
we
doing it.
wanted.
Although they did do the thing that Isaac and I love, where they had the final fight between Paul and the
silence?
and then the new
no
Baron in
music.
complete silence.
Yeah. Yeah,
which
that was
I was
cool.
like, I knew Isaac
Very
was
good-
going to be feeling
yeah,
that.
Very good choreography.
Good choreography,
Yeah, the
dead
scene
quiet.
where freaking
When, he
Timothée
pulled out a-
Chalamet does the like triple
Oh,
pirouette in the
I
air.
audibly went, what the fuck?
I was like, what?
That was the theater kid and Timothée Chalamet being like, didn't you watch this?
I was about to say it wasn't scripted. It wasn't choreographed.
Oh, 100% was
They
not.
just left that in, yeah.
yeah, that was badass. That was so cool.
But yeah, there's just a lot of stuff where I'm like, and not to say this movie was bad, I enjoyed it, but like, it's just very many times where I was like, you did this earlier.
Yeah, the strengths
shouldn't be
of the
screwing it
two
up.
movies are completely opposite because the first one is purely like visuals, audio, world building. Like there's a little bit of plot in there, but it's not like too much.
Yeah.
And then the actual action sequences are pretty cool. And then the second one, it's like Paul's
It's
arc.
character and plot. Is
is
what it really
what's
is.
really really enticing, and like that idea that you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I mean, for me, I really, really enjoy that story.
Yeah.
Like, I still think that this is a good
should
movie
read Dune
because
Messiah.
I still enjoy
You would
that
like
stuff.
this story a lot better if
Yeah.
you read Doom Messiah.
I bet I should. And I said this as soon as we got out of the theater was I want to
Yeah,
reread the books
we were
now.
both like, we
Yeah.
want to read the books.
Yeah.
But like, I still enjoyed the movie, but because I enjoyed Paul's character and that story so much, it's just everything else that surrounded it. I definitely felt was subpar, not subpar, but for some reason just
Just a little let down.
yeah,
Yeah.
it didn't hit the same mark.
I would
that
agree
feel
with
like
that.
Part one film.
I would agree with that.
So I'm giving it like a 5. No, just kidding.
D plus.
I-
D for do a better job.
There was a little bit, I think, there I was taken out of it just because our theater happened to be very loud. Where just
Yeah.
people were just making noise
that's
constantly.
just a
Yeah.
bad.
But that's
theater
just a bad. Yeah,
experience.
it's just I'm trying to. I'm not
Yeah.
going to hold that against the movie, but
Yeah.
like,
I've had that happen to me before.
and I mean, we talked about this in the car, but just the fact that like people laughed at like Paul's big moment where he talks down the, the
Bennett,
lead,
the lead Bennett just
Gesserit, and
Charlotte
you're like,
Rampling.
that's supposed to be a huge, powerful moment of just like he is him.
Yeah.
And people
And somebody
laughed.
laughed.
And we were just like, it just took me out of it immediately. And I was just like, come on, man. It's not against the movie, but it just definitely didn't help my feelings.
What can you do? Marvel has killed. Marvel has killed any and all theater
Yeah.
etiquette.
Media literacy.
The Last of Us 2 was a good game.
I don't know what he's trying to fish for there. I'm not going to respond.
Just saying, it's a good game.
It is.
That's
It's a
all
good
I'm gonna
game,
say.
yeah.
It's a very good game.
Yeah, it's a great game.
It's a great game.
You know who another character I felt like I got a weird 180 was Javier Bardem.
But again, I think that goes to we saw him very little in the first one, so I think we had like an idea of what he was, and then in the second book or in the second movie,
It's weird because in the end of the first film, he's like, okay, this guy, like, he can fight, he can join us, we're cool. And then, like, immediately at the start of this film, he's like, hey, I will kill myself if it means
the
saving this guy's
glazing
life.
was out of control.
Yeah. I was like,
So,
was there a time skip?
yeah. Well, that's the thing. Is I felt like there was a bunch. Obviously,
That would have been a perfect time for a time skip. There wasn't. It was immediately right after.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like there was, but like it felt like there were like they were obnoxious time skips a lot of the times with like how the editing was. Or I was just like, did we just skip a day or did we skip 4 months?
That's
Yeah.
then you don't know.
Like just like
Yeah, that's just a Danny Villeneuve thing.
You don't know where you're at in many movies.
which is not good for me.
the fun part of it.
So what do you think of Danny Villeneuve? How do you think he did?
It's just hard because it's just weird. It's just weird. Because, like, this is definitely the least Denny movie of all time.
I was thinking that exact same thing throughout this.
But,
entire
like, it's
thing.
not a bad movie.
He still has his passion for Dune.
Yeah, it's not his strengths.
That's part of the reason why I don't feel like he has like sold out, except for the fact that he just has a Hollywood blockbuster. budget behind him.
Yeah.
He still is passionate about Dune and science fiction.
Yeah.
But there was just the presentation and his direction felt like reduced.
Yeah.
Like he had given up some part of himself. Even more so in this film than he did in anything else.
I mean, it's not, it's not easy to make a $200-something million movie. Like,
Yeah.
it takes a certain skill to be able to control that,
Mm-hmm.
and to still produce, like, in his eyes, I guess, or in our eyes, like, high art.
Yeah.
I do feel like,
But the more artistic parts of Dune, like, he took advantage of those in part one. Paul's visions with the spice.
Yeah.
More or less absent from this film. Except for like 2 images that just get repeated.
Yeah.
Over and over.
Really weird CGI phases.
Yeah. People walking in silhouettes in wastelands. Like, that's it. We got so much more in part one, and he doesn't lean into that in this film. So,
I think he just, I hate to say the word, he just was like, I'm gonna dumb it down.
You think he did that after
But I
making
think he
part
did
one?
that, yeah. I think it was like an intentional thing where it's like, I just want this movie to make
Because some of
a
the
lot of money.
Some of the decisions that we didn't like about this, particularly editing, that to me says that there was one version of this film that existed and then based off of either the response of part one or based off of what the executives at Warner Brothers felt like based on part one, then had to get recut afterwards. Which is probably why the editing suffered so much.
Something happened.
So I think that would be most likely justification.
It definitely felt as, how did it die? Oh.
You did the deep inhale, and I was like, he's about to say like, he's about to deflect, but he definitely has thoughts about this film.
I know my silence is I'm just gonna let these two guys talk.
Yeah, it has to say, yours is you don't say
silence.
anything. Yeah, his is a genuine silence.
I did the same thing after Godfather Part 3. Mm-hmm. Where
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just gonna let these guys talk. I'm not gonna say anything.
See what
gonna
happens.
pick my
Let them
moment.
cook.
Let them cook. I'm gonna pick my moment. I'm gonna throw my spice in.
Do we have anything else we like about this movie? Any other thoughts? Paul's story, really good,
Yeah.
really fun.
Yep.
I'm gonna say, I think
Really
Post
great.
story.
trying to think what we
see the
haven't
ending of
covered.
it. Really enjoyed the whole conflict.
I want to see
Lady Jessica, another great character.
I want to see another movie.
You want to see Doom Messiah?
Yeah, I feel like where this one left off felt unsatisfying to me.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like there is definitely another film in this franchise. Whether or not Denis Villeneuve will be at the helm of it, I
He
don't
said he
know.
will.
He said he
He's-
will.
Well, he says
He will
there's
try
a,
to be.
there's a script. There's a lot of promising tidbits being said right now. He first has a script, and then he also, somebody asked him about Florence Pugh's character, the princess, and he said, like, the way we got her to be in this movie is the same way we got Zendaya to be in part one, where it was like, this is your introduction, but the next movie's where you're gonna star. So, which is, yeah. I would like to see.
I mean, yeah, I'd
give me
be
all the way
down.
to God Emperor. I want to
Yeah.
see the Dune. I want to see
Yeah.
the worm,
The Worm Saga.
the Worm King.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see another one just because, like,
Yeah, they're good.
like again,
good
we
movies.
talked about stuff we didn't like, but it still was a good film.
No,
Yeah.
and, like
I still like Dune.
let's
Yeah.
put it into context. Like we should probably do this more often, but like we have such
Context?
high hopes for we have such high hopes for these directors sometimes that like even when we're a little bit let down, it still feels like a massive letdown.
Yeah.
So like
He
you
still
know,
knocked it out of the park.
yeah,
Basically.
no other director could probably touch this movie.
No. Yeah.
I don't think.
No.
And he did it, both of them, phenomenally well. So well that I'm gonna get Dune Part 2 in 4K, right next to Dune.
He's already gonna go watch it again.
I'm probably gonna go watch it in
You're gonna go
IMAX
watch
in
it
like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's a very, very good movie. Very good science fiction movie.
Yeah, the
And
stuff from
uh,
the first movie was still prevalent that I really enjoyed, like
And
the
it's-
alienness, the
Yeah.
otherworldliness, everything felt really cool and uniquely sci-fi that Dune has over everything else.
And
So
the
still,
stuff from the first movie that I wish there was more of, I got more.
You
of
got
in
more
this
of
film.
Yep.
So for
Yeah.
that, as a two-parter, I think it's fine.
yep.
It's just that there's a little production elements.
Yeah, little hiccups. They just have to get a little,
That's all it is.
They can't all be Lord of the Rings, where they're just all consistent throughout. I mean, they could be,
They could be.
but they're
Yeah,
usually
they
not,
could
which
be.
is weird. Nobody wants to do it.
No producer.
I was gonna say, can anybody do it?
I mean,
Peter Jackson.
Peter
did it.
Jackson did it.
Well, yeah, but
There's a solid, middle section of the Harry Potter films. I feel like I'm close.
Yeah,
true.
4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6.
3 is a separate director.
Well, like as an entire franchise.
Oh, I see
the
what
fact
you're
that
saying.
it can still be as consistent with separate directors.
I see what
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
saying. I see what you're saying.
I got nothing against David Yates at all. I just think that
Wait a minute, you're not a Redditor?
yeah.
Reddit loves to hate on David Yates for some reason, even though he's made like $6 billion movies. But
Well,
They love
Reddit
Steven
just likes
Spielberg.
to hate.
anyways,
What would you guys rate this one?
I'd give it like an A minus.
Yeah, I'd probably put it around there. I would say A minus
It's
or an
definitely. It's just weird because there's like
As a
parts I love,
standalone
parts I
film.
like of it better than the first, but also there's parts of it that I
We'll
don't
do
like.
two of this. Where would you rate part 2 as a standalone, and then where would you rate Dune part 1 and 2 combined?
Oh, part 1 and 2 combined, it's like an S.
A. Yeah. I feel
It's
like
perfect.
if you
It's
just
the perfect
if you just
adaptation of this story.
if you
It's the
tape them
best
together,
adaptation.
yeah, it just
yeah. That is
like
true.
as one continuous. I feel like some of the issues we have would kind of feel a little bit better.
we should do that one day. Not
God.
anytime soon. No.
Watch them back
No.
to back.
Yeah, we
You want me to hang out with you for 6 hours?
When they come out on DVD, we'll do it.
Oh Christ!
We'll watch part 1. We'll get some food, and we'll come back and watch part 2.
The things I do for this podcast.
James did the whole Star Wars prequel trilogy in a day.
I also did all the extended editions of Lord of the Rings in the day too. It's possible.
I'm so sorry.
I was sick. I had
Lord of the
nothing
Rings
else.
are good movies.
do.
Jeez Louise.
I would
Anyway.
agree with you guys.
Yeah.
Now, for Denis Villeneuve, where would you rate this one? I think this is like.
Well,
a-
it's still below
A.
the top 3. Yeah, because the top 3 for me are Sicario, Blade Runner, Prisoners. Not in that order, but those are like the top 3.
I would agree.
I would put this around like,
I'd give it probably like an A minus.
yeah, I'd put it like around Incendies, Arrival area, and the other. Yeah, I'd probably put those movies in the same category.
Yeah, I can see Arrival. I can see that.
The problem with Denis Villeneuve is he makes nothing but bangers. So it's very hard to subjectively rank his films. Like, I have no problem with anybody being like, I love Enemies. Because I'm like, yeah, that's a good movie. And people are like, I love Arrival. It's like, yeah, that's a good movie.
But then somebody came up and they said, I love Maelstrom.
I'd be like, you're an idiot. It's the same way I feel about Chris Nolan, where there's a right answer and then the wrong answer is Insomnia.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Sounds about right.
If Insomnia is in your top 5, I don't trust you.
Something's wrong.
I don't trust you as a film critic. That's just facts.
Understandable.
No printer.
Shut up.
All right. Well, sorry for the technical difficulties. We'll get them sorted out at some point.
Yeah,
No,
I
we
can't
won't.
believe
We
we would
won't.
criticize a movie for having faulty production issues and then not even take care of our microphones.
I am genuinely curious how long we were talking into nothing.
Would you read Dune Messiah?
Yeah, I want to.
Yeah.
You want to borrow it?
Well, I mean, I got a huge ass backlog. I'll read it when I'm done.
Neuromancer first.
Yeah, I got to get through Neuromancer.
Would you want another? Oh, you would want another one. We talked about that.
Yeah, we already talked about. Yeah. So
I'll buy it on my own. I have money.
What's
Yeah.
cool about Dune is you
wow,
can
good
just
for you.
literally
Flexing much?
stop and start wherever you want.
I'm going to start with God King Emperor. And I'm going to work backwards.
It's really weird.
You're
It's
in for a trip.
it's a really weird franchise. You start with the Horus Heresy, and then it just
Yeah.
goes.
I start with the Brian Herbert book.
I saw somebody commented, somebody put a YouTube comment on one of those like Dune Saga explained, and it's like Dune 1 and 2, philosophical discussion about the dangers of being a messiah and the chosen one, and you know the problems that leads in the modern world. Dune 3 and 4, it's like the importance of family and family legacy, and you know keeping up with traditions, and then it's like books 5 onward is just like horny sex pirates. And it's like, whoa!
As God intended.
I was like, God, yeah, I'm stopping after 3.
Understandable.
So, anyways, we're out of here.
Yeah.
Dune gets a minus from us
Collectively.
Collectively,
I
yeah.
think.
That's
pretty,
in order to
pretty
put it, yeah.
solid.
It's the average.
Our
James,
score.
happy birthday!
Thank you.
You are now 26 years of age.
Oh,
as of
yeah.
this recording.
Yeah, your birthday's gonna be tomorrow.
Yeah. Time to party it up. All right.
No, I'm going to bed.
See you guys
Yeah, right. I
later.
was gonna say it's late.